Hello, I'm Jen Verhoog. I'm here in Corrales with Verhoog Wellness, and I practice acupuncture and alternative medicine, including bodywork, Chinese herbs, nutraceuticals, and a whole lot more. So I'd like to invite you in and I'll give you a tour. When you come into Verhoog Wellness, this is one of our entryways and intake rooms. It's also a place for classes on breathing and movement. Here we have a sampling of the nutraceuticals and herbs that are often used here. We're in cold and flu season, so some real popular hitters are mushroom formulas for antiviral. If you happen to come down with something, I've got nasal decongestions, if it's thick and sticky congestion, or if it's a dry, not moving anywhere congestion. If it moves into the lungs, we've got different rounds of formulas for that. We also carry a standard process. So in the nutraceuticals, whole food supplementation, a fantastic company that I stand behind completely. This is one of the magic formulas, Hunan Baiyao. It's fantastic for emergency medicine, trauma. There's many, many different applications for this formula that we can get here. We don't do eggs.
Story on the eggs. Are these your eggs?
These are my eggs.
Okay,
I have 30 chickens. There are Americanas, there are Acunas, there are Brahmas. I have a whole range of them. Eggs are one of my big things as far as the health benefits. Farm fresh, healthy eggs, healthy chickens are really good for us. Store-bought eggs that come from conventional chickens, they're stressed out, they're fed GMO products, that all goes into the eggs. Whenever you hear about negative implication of eggs, they're looking at conventional eggs. These eggs I can stand behind as well because they're full. These are happy chickens, they're eating bugs, they have names and retirement plans as well. So I try to keep everyone stocked on eggs too. And then this is a rescue, this is for lapdog rescue. So these are felt products. I have alpaca too, so their felt goes into products. Karen does a wonderful job making them into amazing things that she sells for donations to Lapdog Rescue. Sometimes I do a couple treatments. So if we're doing meditative work, if we're doing any of the movement exercises, I can have two people lying down and I can be in between the rooms working with both of them. So that's a nice little extra niche. Here's another one of the seating areas. For intake, all of my exams start with an intake where we discuss chief complaints, primary concerns. I treat things from digestive irregularities to headaches. I treat arthritis, infertility, breached presentations. The realm of acupuncture is really pretty much anything that you'd go to see a Western doctor for, except I don't do surgery or set broken bones. But I can also help with a lot of the healing that comes after surgeries and preparing a body prior to surgeries so that they're in the best condition possible. So come on in. This is our final intake room with our fish Bubba. It's part of the Zen experience when you come in. With acupuncture, it's often reported to be very relaxing. So one of the things that I'll offer is nap time. So by coming in, having a few needles put in, lying down in a nice warm comfy bed, naps are easily facilitated and it's the best nap you're ever going to have. The needles that start out, I do a 4 gates approach. So it's 4 needles, hands and feet, and that just moves the energy. Energy tends to get stuck in our bodies and we get a little frustrated, irritated, whatnot. And it's hard to hold up that stagnation for so long, so underneath it's usually a deficiency. So then I'll put some needles in certain areas that help build up the energy of the body. So while you're napping, you're getting rid of the stress that's been building up and rejuvenating your body. I'd like to give you a tour of the tools that I use in addition to my hands. As an acupuncturist, obviously acupuncture needles are important, so we should probably start there. There's a lot of misconception about needles, and I wish we had a better word for them. An acupuncture needle is very different from a hypodermic needle that we're used to when we go to give blood or we get an injection. Hypodermic needles are hollow, and they're designed to make a tear into the vessel and inject something or take something out, and that doesn't feel so good. These needles are considered, they're a filiform needle. So go ahead and take one out for you. They're they're solid. That's their number one difference. It's a solid needle. You can kind of see how thin that is, but there's no hole in it. And it's designed, instead of tearing into tissue, it's designed to go in between cells. So it's a very bendable, very thin, about the diameter of a hair, thinner than some of our hairs, and it goes right in between space. These are considered a bulk needle, but they all come in one package. And this is a guide tube. Guide tubes, they sound like a cheater, but what they really do is they make the skin tight. And by creating a tension against the skin, when I go to put the needle in, it has a nice easy surface to go into. It's nice and firm, and you don't really feel it going in. As you can see, this needle's barely in my skin right now. It's in a point called large intestine 4. And there's chi in that point, there's energy. And that chi is what's holding this very thin, flimsy needle straight up in the air. After a little while, this is part of the 4 gates I was talking about for napping. After a little while, when my chi isn't so up and energetic, this needle will go, and it will fall down, and I'll know that it's done doing its job. When I take it out, I close the hole so nothing leaks. So this is a metal needle. And as an acupuncturist, my goal is always to see the thinnest needle I can use to get to a point. So these are really thin metal needles, and they come in an array of lengths. The longer the needle, the more difficult it is to get into the body, even because it's just as thin as this other needle, but it has more chance of bending. This is what 4 years of medical training gets you. Acupuncturists go through a complete medical training so that we are trained to the level of surgeons. There's a new technique on the market called dry needling. Dry needling is about hitting trigger points, origin insertions of muscles. It doesn't come with the fine, easy needling that we as acupuncturists go for when we go to the same points. In dry needling, we would use a much larger needle. This is an example of a larger gauge needle. You can see by contrast the diameter. This needle is designed to tear into the body, poke into trigger points, and cause releases that way. It's an aggressive approach compared to a thinner acupuncture needle. So an acupuncture needle versus a dry needle is about technique that is developed over years of training and practice. Dry needling is an accessory technique that is added to a practice where it is the only tool used. As you'll see with acupuncture, it's beyond just treating the local muscle pain. We're going to treat why that pain is there. Thinner needles, these are now running into, this is a plastic coated needle. It's kind of the Cadillac of needles. It comes in its own little guide tube that's sealed nice in there. I break the seal to expose teeny needles. These are great for facial points, infants, very sensitive people or animals. Same concept. This needle, guide tube into the skin, almost no sensation. It's a very light needle. This is one of the fine tools of modern acupuncture. This has come over a lot of evolution of needles, and we can go even smaller. This is a press tack. This is something I can send home with people so they can do their own treatments. It's held on with a little Band-Aid. There's a teeny needle in there, almost imperceptible. So for folks who might suffer stress, difficulty sleeping, eating disorders, I'll show them the points on their body. They'll locate their point, place the needle on, and the Band-Aid will hold it into place for 12 to 24 hours. On the other end of the spectrum, I almost don't want to show you these. These are some of the larger needles that we work with. This is designed to get to deep points, like somewhere in the glutes, for example. Sciatica is a common complaint that comes in the door and walks out feeling a whole lot better because of this needle. These are designed to go deep into the body through numerous layers of muscle and to get to where the problem is. If we decide we do not want needles, this is our final option. This is a press, an ear seed. So what this does, it's a little teeny metal, almost like a little BB. Same idea as the tack, but there's no needle. This I'll often put on people's facial points, ear points, to help with things like rhinitis. Constant runny nose really benefits well from this little guy. In addition to acupuncture, there's many ways to address physical pains. Cupping has become very popular since the Olympics. We got to see Phelps with his dark marks on his back, and there's a lot of confusion that the marks that people see after cupping are bruises. It's very important to differentiate a difference between a bruise and what we call sha. Sha is a little bit more like a hickey, but still not quite the same thing. the way we get to the sha is through cupping and gua sha. So I'll explain cupping first. These are classic glass cups, and they are used on the body with the intention of creating a suction. So I will soak this little end in 90 proof alcohol and I light it. So this becomes a burning something, which is important to keep in mind. I will take the burning end, put it into the cup for just a moment, take it out and put the cup right on the body. This is an important move to be sure you trap the air that's in the cup. The fire burns up the oxygen. So when it's placed on the body, a vacuum occurs and the skin and the fascia and maybe some muscle will get pulled into this cup. When that happens, there is a spacing that creates between the fascia and the muscles. And this is important when you have severe muscle tightness because that tightness indicates to us that blood cells are getting stuck. A red blood cell only lives 120 days, and if it happens to be cruising around and it gets stuck up here in a muscle because the muscle is tight and it can't get through, the blood cells die, and they just add to the tension, and sometimes you can really feel those knots. When a cup goes in, it's placed on the body, it sucks up that skin and that fascia, it allows fresh blood to flow through, and those dead cells come up to the surface. That's what creates sha. Sha is pathological dead blood cells that are stuck underneath your skin. When that comes up to the surface, it gives the body a chance to absorb it into circulation, take those dead blood cells, bring them back to your spleen where they get broken down and recycled, the body can use again. After a cupping experience, depending on how much sha we get, sometimes there's low energy the next day or two because the body's rebuilding the blood. After that, you may have cups more blood running around your body because they're no longer stuck in that interstitial tissue. So cupping is phenomenal for that. Gua sha also gets sha, but in a very different way. This is a tool, classically they're made out of bone, and it fits nicely into the hand so that you can do what's considered scraping technique. Scraping technique is done along the skin, and it's just like it sounds, it scrapes the skin. You'll see if I do it, my skin starts getting red. It's a little irritated with that. What happens is I create a reaction in the skin. Blood is flowing up to the surface, and the little cells on the top are opening up a little bit. We consider that venting. So I will do this technique on somebody's shoulders when they come in with a very early cold, upper respiratory issues. I'll do this along the areas of the shoulder to release that stuff, those toxins that are stuck in the skin, and often the cold won't sit in after that. It can also be used as a massage tool because sometimes you just want a massage. So I do that too. So with massage, I like to incorporate different things into the body work. I tend to use a coconut oil as my base, and some of the essential oils, this is a company called Floricopia that I really appreciate. There are certain oils that are very good at helping the blood get invigorated. Frankincense is one of them, heliocrysum is another. So I'll mix these into coconut oil and use that on the body. These are some great liniments that are just sort of classic that can also be used to help just physically move the blood and the chi of the body. Oils can be used in many ways, so not only physically on the body, but I also diffuse them into a room for their antimicrobial properties. Again, we're in cold and flu season, and it really does a nice job not only making my office smell fresh, but killing off antimicrobials along the way. I'll make up little individuals for people that also can help with emotional support, stress management. There's a whole lot of use of these oils. It just is a lot of creativity on how you're going to get them into your body. So these are Accutonic tuning forks. Accutonics is a company based out of Taos, New Mexico, and they have done an absolutely phenomenal job of designing what I consider to be the top notch of tuning forks. The alloy that they're made with, it keeps the vibration very consistent. Why is that important? Well, we're talking about energy medicine here, and it's not so woo-woo as some people might think. everything is made up of energy. We know energy condenses into matter. And with that, there's always a vibration. We can think of EKGs and whatnot that are really good at measuring that. But also in our body, we have a different vibrational frequency for muscle versus bone. Things that are more fluid have a different vibration than things that are more solid. And acutonics has gone beyond that to figure out how that which around us also has a vibration. So, for example, a lot of us are very aware of the moon cycles and how that can affect maybe our emotions or our menstruation. This goes beyond that to say that not only the moon, but the other planets around us also have an influence. Some very common ones we think about are Mars and Venus. So we have our masculine energy and our feminine energy. It doesn't have to get that complicated. I have my 4 years of Chinese training behind me. So what I've done is I just roll this into what I'm currently doing. In Chinese medicine, where I was talking about balance and harmonizing. So my cheater set, this is a set of an Om. So in yoga class, we'll often begin or end with a nice Om. These forks emulate that sound. So by using the Om forks, this starts off many treatments here, just sort of bringing people into gentle relaxation. After that, I start considering, well, what do I need to do with this body? Do they need more chi? Do they need more energy? This fork does a phenomenal job building energy in the body. So as an acupuncturist, I'd say, what points do I use to build energy? Well, Ren 17, middle of the chest, big chi center. I can take 2 of these forks, place them right there, and there I'm giving myself a little chi boost, a little bit of energy. Middle of the day, this helps me out quite a bit. After you've had a nap, moved all those 4 gates, moved all that energy, this is a nice way to come in, get on a point on the ankle, and boost the energy of the spleen. If you're really deficient, really low, feeling cold, this is a yang tonic. So this fork brings in a real high level of energy. I won't put it on the chest because it can cause palpitations, but I'll put it down on kidney points and spleen points down lower in the body to really add a substantial amount of energy to the body. These are 2 of my favorites. This is Venus, this is Mars. Together they create a resonance in the body that's very similar to what the Om forks are doing. It's a harmonizing treatment. The forks are really cool. They're also used diagnostically. So if I activate the forks, I'm just striking them to get them buzzing, and then I place them on the body, one fork almost always runs out of energy before the other one. So I can feel the pink fork, the Venus fork, is already running out of energy. That tells me that my system needs more of that. So I'll go ahead and do a little bit extra until I feel that both forks are being used up equally. And then that way I know the points are balanced. This little duo has done wonders for patients who suffer from emotional distress, agoraphobia, the list goes on, just in case you have stress. And then on a more physical level, this is a fork I use to help break up scar tissue, especially young scar tissue. It's got a very frantic energy to it. So when I strike this one, I'll take it on a scar and I'll just rub it along that tissue. It's a softer, easier way than doing cross-friction rub, which a lot of us do to break up scar tissue. So tuning forks add a whole nother level to treatments. They can be used before an acupuncture treatment, they can be used with needles, they can be used in place of needles. So if you've never tried acupuncture and you ask yourself, why should I try acupuncture? It is a modality that can bring wellness and balance to your life. And the questioning, what is wellness and balance? Because many of us have not felt that for a very long time. If you have trouble sleeping, if you feel your emotions get out of control, if you have aches and pains that don't go away with your stretching and exercise, this is a time to try acupuncture. If the needles bother you, I have many other modalities. We do not have to work with acupuncture needles. For people that tried acupuncture, maybe they didn't get the results that they were looking for, I think it's always worth your while to try out other practitioners. We all have a very different way of applying this medicine. It's considered a science and an art. So you find the artist that can paint the right picture for you.